Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Brushes and Bunnies, and in this video we're going to be doing a quick tutorial video on the basics of drawing hair. I'll be showing you some tips and tricks that I have learned over the past year in terms of drawing hair, especially female hair, and I'll be talking about how to draw straight hair, wavy hair, and super curly hair in this video. So get your sketchbooks out and your pencils, of course, and we're gonna get started. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you're interested in more art videos and art tutorials. We're going to get started with the basics of drawing hair. So when you start drawing a human head or a face, this generally gets started with a circle. So I'm just going to outline here with my blue pencil a rough circle on this drawing that I drew, and this is sort of the approach that I always take. I draw a circle and then I start to define the jaw and the general face shape. Once I have the circle and I have the jaw and I have everything there, I basically section the face off into 3 parts or 3 sections, and I do this by drawing 4 lines. So I will show you with my red pencil. The very top line basically shows where the hairline will start, and this is super useful for the future when you're drawing the hair of your character. The second line is where the eyes are, the third is right above or right below the nose, and the fourth is where the jaw ends. So I use this as a rough guideline on where to place facial features and also where to start the hair. This general guideline has helped me a lot, especially when I was learning how to draw faces and how to, place certain things. And it's more so of a general guideline. So the hairline at the very top, yes, it does align with the sort of like 1/3 parts or the equal 1/3 parts. But in general, if your character has bangs or maybe it has a higher hairline or a lower hairline, this of course will, you can customize this for each character. So this guide is just a very general one, and it's something that just helps with the initial placement of things, especially if you're learning. We're now going to talk about how to draw the hair itself. There are so many different styles out there: long, short, medium, wavy, curly, straight, probably a lot more than what I just listed, but the point is that there's a lot of things out there that you can draw, and it can be a bit overwhelming at first, but actually the more you practice, the more you'll get better at it. And in this case, I'll be showing you 3 different examples of straight hair, of wavy hair, and curly hair, and the approach that I take to draw these sort of textures and also just the general shape and movement of the hair. We're first going to get started with drawing straight hair. Drawing straight hair is one of the easiest things that you can do, or at least start off with. It's a lot of fun as well, so I would recommend that if you're new to drawing hair, try to draw some straight-haired characters first, whether they're a guy or they're a girl. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to learn very quickly the sort of mechanics to actually drawing hair. Now in this example, I'm currently just building the face of my character, and I also use the 4 lines just to basically build a guideline in terms of where the certain facial features will go. The guidelines are the same as the ones at the very beginning of this video, and this is something that I tend to do either directly on paper as I'm drawing or just something in my head as I'm drawing. The more you practice, the better you'll get, and you won't actually have to draw out these lines anymore. But for the sake of this video, you can see here my thought process of how I basically structure it based on the 1/3 parts. When it comes to drawing hair that is straight and very loose, I always start at the hairline, especially if there's a middle part or there's a side part. It's just easier to get started from there because the hair tends to start, of course, from the hairline, but it also falls very flat or it falls very straight down from the forehead area. So it's always just easier to start drawing the hair from the top of the head or from the forehead area or the hairline, and you can basically make your way down from the top of the head down to the shoulders. As mentioned previously, drawing straight hair is one of the easiest things to learn just because all you need to do is focus on bringing your pencil down in one straight line from the top of the head down to the shoulders. That being said, straight hair still does have movement to it, so depending on the way that it falls on the shoulders or around the ear, or maybe it's a little bit messy, it might have curves and a little bit of a different texture rather than just straight. So that is also important to be aware of. So when you're drawing your characters, just try to envision and try to see how the hair will fall on the shoulders especially, and you might have to actually just curve it a little bit here and there. So just remember, it does have movement, it doesn't fall straight from the head, it does kind of have its own sort of life as well. The next level of difficulty will of course be the wavy hairstyle. This might sound easy, but it's actually a little bit more of an effort than just drawing straight hair, just because you need to recognize so much more movement, and you also need to add a little bit more texture to the hair rather than it being straight. I really love this type of hairstyle, just adding waves to hair, especially long hair. It's a lot of fun to draw, and also it does help loosen up your wrist, especially if you're feeling stiff, like your wrist is feeling stiff and you're just not drawing properly, or I don't know, you're just not drawing as good as you can. I would then recommend to just practice drawing wavy hair. It does help loosen things up a lot, and it's a lot of fun to draw. The general approach to this is, of course, the same. I draw the face, the head shape, I section it off into 1/3, and I use the first line as the hairline, and I basically build the hair from the hairline perspective. Now this one is going to be a little bit more challenging just because her hair is kind of flipped to the side, so it's going to be more voluminous, oh my gosh, okay, words. It's going to have more volume, let's just put it that way. But in general, the hair will still start from the forehead or the hairline. So I always use this top line as a first point of reference when drawing the hair. Now, when it comes to drawing wavy hair, something that's important is to remember that, of course, it's wavy, which means you got to change up the lines that you draw. And typically, you can associate the S letter as a starting point for drawing waves. Now you don't want to go too crazy with the S shape, you just want to have nice subtle waves. You might be able to get something that's a little bit between wavy and curly. In this case, you can tighten up those S shapes and you can add a lot more, especially near the bottom of the hair. Yeah, it's really up to you, but just remember that when you're drawing wavy hair to add in S shapes. So in this case, what you're seeing me do right now, I am curling the hair, or I'm making wavy hair by creating sort of curves with the S shape. The trick to this is, of course, to keep your wrist very loose and just sort of go with the flow and create something that's very fluid and light and loose. In case of drawing individual hair strands, this is something that I don't typically do in my style, but you can add a specific texture to the hair by drawing S shapes within the actual shape of the hair as well, especially around the neck area or places that lots of hair there may be lots of hair sections, for example, around the ear, where you want to further define the hair texture, or maybe just the general wildness of the hair. You can, of course, add more pencil strokes to simulate that texture. So in this case is what I'm doing right now, just adding very subtle lines within the actual hair. The next type of hairstyle I will show you is how to draw something that is super curly. This is perhaps one of the most fun things to draw just because of how crazy you can really go with it. You can have a lot of fun and you can play with a lot of the textures. So yeah, with the curly hair, I do love to play with textures. I do love to draw more lines than usual instead of the straight hair, which is pretty straightforward. This one, I feel like I need to show a lot more movement, which means I need to draw a lot more lines, and I can really just draw kind of squiggly lines in a way. So I'll show you how I do this. As always, I draw the face the same way that I normally do with the 4 different lines, but in this case, because of the curly hair, it's kind of in her face and she almost has sort of like a bang kind of situation happening. So I sort of ignore that top guideline for the hairline, and I instead bring the hair directly down between the top and the second guideline. So this is where you can have a lot of fun with it, and you can basically change this sort of guideline for your character depending on the hairstyle. Now with these more complex hairstyles, I like to just draw not only the top guideline for the hairline, I also like to sort of outline where the edges of the hairline will start. So in this case, it's sort of slanted and it goes up towards her, her forehead, and then it kind of like, yeah, booms out from the side. In this case, I just want to draw a general line or an outline of the actual shape of the hair. And while I'm drawing this, I'm adding the textures. And in terms of curly hair, I do use the same S shape as I do for the wavy hair, but I condense it. I make it not smaller, but I make it tighter in a way. And I add more of them. And this will create the sort of textured look of super curly hair. When it comes to drawing every single hair strand, this is not really my type of style, but when it comes to drawing curly hair, I actually feel like I play a lot more with this. When I do really detailed work, I will tend to draw a lot more texture and detail to the curly hair than I would if it was straight hair. In this case, typically how I approach it would of course be with the S shape, and I typically draw more of this sort of detail around the face, around the ears, and around the bottom of the hair where it ends. I will add more squiggly lines, or I will add more hair strands. So this is just something that I do with my style. But yeah, that's basically everything. This very not really so short tutorial. We're already at 11 minutes long. I'm so sorry. I wanted this to be shorter, but I did want to show you the basics of how I approach drawing female hair, and basically sort of the steps that I do to draw hair and where it all starts from the face. I hope that this has helped you in some way. I will be doing more videos in the near future showing you guys specific hairstyles. This is something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. I just haven't really gotten around to doing it. So I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more videos like this, please do give it a big thumbs up and let me know in the comments below, of course. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see each other next weekend. Bye!